when you are 50, 55, I know that 55, 60, 60, we can't go. We're both old men. We can't go as fast, right? He's older, but you're right. We can't go. You can't. Oh, I'm gonna work 12 hours. I'm gonna work 14 hours. Now, Desmond and I, we were just having a conversation about how to manage money. I think that's a very, very important topic. I thought I would share this with you. I don't know where this goes, but I think I want to give you some tips that will benefit you as well.
Yes, thanks, Sifu. I guess for context for you guys, I came just a few minutes ago. I was showing Sifu Danlock my finances, right? So I was late on my taxes, believe it or not. Many of you might know my story. I was on the verge of bankruptcy a couple of years ago, thanks to this wonderful mentor of mine who helped me to not only dig myself out of that mess I was in, but now I'm living a fairly, I would say relatively comfortable life, right? I think most people would aspire to get to a position I'm at, and I say that very humbly, but now what? What to do next? So I was late on my taxes at first, and my corporate taxes, my personal taxes. I had to get that mess cleaned up.
Yes.
Now that that's cleaned up, I just showed you the numbers.
Yes.
And I guess just to put things in for people's understanding, I don't own a home yet, but I make a multiple six-figure income. I live in a designer concrete, home, 3 floors, fairly nice and big. I've got a luxury SUV. I know that you always talk about middle class, buy a lot of assets that are actually liabilities, and I actually just got thrown under the bus here for one of them. So I thought maybe you guys could learn at the same time, right? Because I'm at that stage right now, and some of you might be at that stage, and you might
or maybe
learn.
you're just getting started. You are still going through school, and you're wondering, hey, now you just got your first job. You just have some money coming in. How do you manage it, right? Because one thing I always say is not how much money you make, is how much money you keep.
Right.
And it's not just how much money you keep, it's how well you invest that money.
Right.
Now think back when you came back to Canada, you were struggling financially, right? Making just tiny little bit of money. Now compared to back then, you've
10 times.
10 times.
Yes.
10x what you were making before.
That's correct.
Where did that money go?
That's correct.
Right?
Where is it going every month?
Where did it go? And think about, even if you make 2-3 times more than what you're making now, where would that money go?
True.
So it's the habit that's more important, not just the amount. Because I hear this all the time, that once I used to lie to myself this way too.
Right.
Where once I make more money, I'll manage it. It's not how it works. It's the habit that makes a difference.
Got it.
So if you have, I don't care if you're making minimum wage, you have maybe $2,000 coming in every month, you're not managing $2,000 well, $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 is going to be exactly the same. You wonder to yourself, where did all that money go? And in fact, you probably have more stuff, you're more in debt, you're more credit card debt, and all that stuff.
Right.
And then you think, let me get to that $20,000, $30,000, and then my problems will go away. It won't.
Right.
It's because it's the same habit.
And it's probably even worse because I'm middle age now, so I don't have much time.
Yes, correct.
So I'm desperately now trying to play catch up on how, what are some of the smarter things I can do with the money I've got.
First, because most people don't know that money has many jobs.
I did not know that.
Okay.
Yes.
Most people, they think money has one job, which is to spend.
Right.
They think, I get money, I spend money, right? That's broke people believe, growing up thinking money has one job. People who are a little bit smarter, they know money has 2 jobs, which is to spend and to save.
Got it, yeah.
Right? The really smart ones, they know that money has 3 jobs, which is to...
Hold on,
which is to spend, and also to save, and to invest.
Spend, save, invest.
And invest.
Okay.
And the very wise people,
Right.
very wise people, they know money has 4 jobs, which is to spend, save, invest, and donate.
Yes. To
and
give
you look
back,
at the Warren Buffett, you look at Bill Gates, right?
Yeah.
Those are the people who really get it. Money has 4 jobs.
Right.
So the way I used, this is not new by the way, I learned this from the book Richest Man in Babylon.
That's right.
This is not from
the
me.
Buckets, right?
The buckets, right? So it talks about that. So I want to keep it very, very simple because here's why I know this. If you make your money management system very complicated, you're not going to use it. You're not going to use it. I'm not going to use it. Like no one's going to use it, right?
Right.
So I want to keep it very, very simple. So I use the bucket money management system.
So what is the bucket management, I guess for simplicity's sake?
Yeah.
I sometimes have discipline. I think I'm a pretty disciplined person, right? You would agree. And but I find myself having, shit happens, life
Yes.
happens. Oh, suddenly this month we need this, or that month we need this,
And always something always happens.
yeah. So
right?
it's hard to maintain that discipline when
right.
all these emergencies keep popping up.
That's right. So very simple. Imagine every dollar that comes in,
Yes.
you divide it into 5 buckets.
Okay.
Very simple. So the first bucket is what I call your necessities bucket.
Okay.
So this is where you pay your bills, right? I would say 60% of your money.
60%.
So every dollar that comes in, 60 cents goes into this bucket.
Got it.
Your electricity bill, your car payment, your house payment, right? All that stuff, your internet, your cell phone bill, right?
Right.
That's your necessity bucket. So let's say you're making $1,000 a month, hypothetically, $600 goes into this. You're making 10,000, then 6,000 goes into that.
Got it.
Very simple.
Makes sense.
So that's 60%. The next bucket is what I call your emergency bucket.
Okay.
That's then 10% of your money, every dollar that comes in, goes into this bucket.
Right.
Now, emergency money means money you put away for a rainy day.
Right.
It could be medical expenses.
Yes.
Right? It could be something happens to your family, you want to have that money there.
Yeah.
This money is, people talk about emergency fund. I don't like to touch this money.
Right. How do you not touch that?
I just put it away. So
Yeah.
what I do is I actually go to my banker, set up a bank account where every dollar comes in, it goes into this account.
It's like a savings account.
I don't
It's nothing
touch.
fancy. Just
I do not touch.
Okay.
It just goes into that.
Right.
Don't feel like, oh yeah, I wanna take a vacation. Let me dip into that money. That's not.
And you wouldn't use that money to buy gold or investments or stocks or something that came up. You wouldn't touch it.
No,
Okay.
no. From a psychological point of view, what I notice is when you have cash,
Yes.
it attracts more cash. I mean, I don't have time to go into all of that, but what I notice when you have money, it's like the habit, when you can accumulate money, when you have the habit of accumulating money, you accumulate more money.
Right.
When you don't have the habit of accumulating money, you always have no money. Doesn't
Right.
matter how much money you make.
Okay.
So that's the second bucket.
Second bucket.
Second bucket,
Got it.
okay? The third bucket is the investment bucket.
Okay.
So that's also 10%. So 60%,
Yes.
right? 10%, 10%, that's your think of that's your future, that's your retirement.
Got it.
So richest man in Babylon talk about pay yourself first. This is the pay yourself bucket, that 10%,
Got it.
right?
Okay.
So it's that 10%. And then you have 10% is what I call your learning bucket.
Okay.
This is where you learn your skills.
Right.
You go to the events, get coaching, seminars, online courses, 10%. So imagine you've got $1,000, right? $600 goes into the first necessities.
Yes.
Right. Then you have $100 goes into the emergency.
Yes.
$100 goes to investment.
Right.
$100 goes to learning.
Right.
Could be reading a book. And then last one, that last 10%, that's your fun bucket.
The fun bucket.
That's,
okay.
that's your Mont Blanc pen. That's your tutorial. That's your sashimi.
It might be a little bit big. That bucket might be a little bit big
It's a
right
little
now.
bit big, right?
It's a little bit big right
A little
now.
bit
If
big,
I'm honest, it's a little bit big
so,
right now.
So then you know if it's 10%, then there's no guilt.
Right.
Right?
Okay.
So when I buy something fancy like AP watch,
Yes.
I use the fund money.
Got it.
I do not touch all these other money.
Got it. Okay.
Because then there's no guilt. But if you don't put it in the bucket, it's very easy to, oh well, you know, I should take that vacation.
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly, well, your learning bucket, that's gone.
Right.
Your emergency bucket, that's like next to nothing.
So I've got a question, Sifu. So, you know, I know that you also say invest in yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, my investment bucket is very small right now. And as you know, where we live, it's very expensive.
Yep.
I mean, I would be saving for years before I could even make a small investment. So I've taken, just correct me if I'm wrong, but I've taken some of that investment money and have invested it into learning. So my learning, I've doubled up my learning
Yes,
by
that's
investing
fine.
myself to
That's
get
fine.
higher income skills.
Yeah.
And then through that high income skills, it increases more income, and then I should start now.
So
to
so
fill
you
that up.
notice when you do this, when you use the bucket systems,
Yeah.
the first reaction most people would have, I can't live off like 60%.
Yeah.
There's no way in hell. That's not enough. So then you know, okay, you need to upgrade your skills
Right.
so you earn more, right? We talk about
So
this
not
a
just
lot.
like cutting coupons, saving money.
We're
it's
not talking about that. But
Right.
at the same time, while you're increasing income, you need to have the habits in place.
Got it, okay.
I would rather, if you cannot do the 10% right now,
Mm-hmm.
do 1%,
do something.
do 2%. Because you need to have the habit in place.
Okay.
If you have zero habit and you think it's like some future thing is going to happen, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
If you cannot do 6, okay, let's say 80% you going into that, let's do 5, 5, 5, 5.
Would the bankers look at you weird if you go to the bank and just say,
Oh, they
I
would.
want
Doesn't matter, they're
$5?
broke.
Right.
It doesn't matter, right?
Okay.
So it's the habit that makes the difference.
Got it.
Like your investment bucket, that's your golden goose,
Right.
right? But you look at, I think I was reading statistics, like the average Americans, more than 50% of Americans have less than $500 in their savings account.
Yeah, many of them don't even have
$500.
the 3 months you need.
Oh,
minimum
forget
is
3 months, $500.
Wow.
So it means that one emergency
Yes, wiped out.
wiped out. They're one paycheck away from poverty.
Right.
That's like 50-60% of the American population.
Wow.
That is, and America is one of the wealthiest countries in the world.
I've got another question. I'm not sure if you want to add that also with this discussion, but the leveraging of credit cards
Yes.
and rebuilding of credit. And I know you're not a credit specialist. You're not. That's not you're an you're a mentor and so forth. But I was always told that like for obviously the accountants that you've introduced me to have been very helpful. To divide and make sure you have 2 clear credit cards, one for business use, one for personal
one
use.
corporate, yeah.
Right? And then even that not to max them out every month, to use 60-70% and pay them down. 60,
So make
70%
sure
pay them down.
you don't accumulate any credit card debts.
Yes.
You pay that off every single month.
Got it.
So if it's as long as within that 60%,
Yes.
you're fine.
So those credit cards are
All
under,
the credit cards, all the expenses, all
so
of that.
use
that's
those credit
fine.
cards to pay for the
You're fine.
utilities, pay for those things,
You're fine,
and
yeah.
anything like that.
Yeah.
But then
just don't leverage using the fund money. You only have $1,000 of fund money, but
Yes.
I'm gonna spend $3,000. Oh, it's okay. I'll put it on my card. I'll pay it back next month. That's what you don't want to do. Then you think
That's
about
what
it.
things gotta
If you're paying 18-20% on a credit card interest rate,
Yeah.
and you are saving like 1%, they do the numbers. Something is wrong. But here's the thing.
Okay.
What I learned is this. This is like the bare minimum.
wow. Okay.
The 10%, like Richest Man in Babylon talks about the 10%.
Yeah.
It's like bare minimum, meaning that if you want to be comfortable in 20-30 years, this is if you want to get it there like on like a fast track.
Yeah.
This number is too low.
Too low. Too slow. Yeah.
It's
I get
too
it.
low.
I
It's
can
too
see it.
low.
Being very slow.
I was writing an article. I'll share this with you.
Yeah.
If you're making less than 50K, 50K, 10% is good.
Yes.
If you're making like 50 to 200K, that numbers, your investment bucket needs
Yes.
to be at 15%.
15. Okay. Got it.
If you're making 200 and 500K, 25%.
Damn.
If you're making $1 million or more, 35%. So that means then 35% go to investment. What shrinks is your necessity bucket. Because
Right.
you cannot be making $1 million
And your necessities
600,
keep being.
I mean, come
that just
on.
means you're being
you bring-
frivolous and
yes.
spending too
You
much
still
money.
spend like
Yeah.
300. If you're making $1 million, 350K,
Yeah.
that's fine. But
So maybe like
but
8
imagine
pieces of sushi, not 20 pieces of sushi.
3
and spending
pieces of sushi, and then get a udon, right? It's cheap, right? Get a miso soup.
Don't be
right?
buying all your friends sushi.
That's
you know,
right.
the Otoro, Chutoro, all
It's
the big stuff.
Because when you know the numbers, example,
Yeah.
I tease Desmond. I'm, oh man, Desmond, you spend like $200 on sushi. Because in my mind, I'm like, holy fuck. Because that's $200 if you can put in some kind of investment in a stock in 20 years. That meal is expensive.
That's true.
Like whoa.
It's not just $200. That
It's
costs
not,
me
it's not
probably
$200.
a couple $1,000.
It's not $200, right? And I'm not saying like I'm the last guy that will tell you not to enjoy your life and things like that. Do it this way.
Yes.
As your income increases, you do it this way. The fund money, spend
Yes.
whatever you want.
It's kind of a reward, like maybe once a month if you did something that was worth it, that earned more. And
That's
stuff
no problem. Like you can reward yourself every single month. Just don't go over the limit.
Got it.
And you wanted this to be automatic. When this requires you to sit down and you do it, it won't happen. I'm just telling you, it won't happen. It has to be done automatically.
So talk to the banker.
Talk to the bank and say, your banker will look at you weird and say, why do you set up like 4? What the hell is this? Right? And then you're like, you gotta pay some a couple bucks for the accounts fees and forget about that stuff. It doesn't matter. Right? It's the habit of it. So then you know, because then you have fun with this.
Okay.
At first, when I did it, I had no money.
Right.
But I did it. It was 1%.
Yeah.
1% just emergency, right? I was spending more on learning, but it was just no money because I wasn't debt. But I still do it. Then it's like, oh, 1.5%, 2%, 3%, 4%, right? And then to more and more. One person inspired me so tremendously, Sir John Templeton from Templeton Fund, billionaire. He started off investing 1% of what he earns
Yes.
and spends 99%. Didn't have a lot of money. Before he passed away,
Yes.
he was only spending 1% of what he earns.
Wow.
And 99% invested.
Wow.
That's like he reversed that. So you gotta think about, and then because then you be excited about looking at
The
your
numbers.
emergency fund, like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, you feel good, like, you know what, things are okay. something happens, I could take care of my family. I could make that happen, right?
Now the emergency fund is just like whatever I paid off on the credit cards, I guess. You know,
That's
sure
what
I
I
may
mean.
have some good credit, but that's the only emergency fund. But it's
And
not
then
even
and
that
then you
much.
look in your investments like, oh, holy shit, I got next to nothing. Most people have next to nothing.
Yeah.
Right? And they're like, oh yeah, and then that's why they think, let me buy some stocks or
Crypto
cryptocurrency
and all stuff, right?
You don't look at that. You just look at that. Boom,
What's
boom,
a healthy number to get to in your investment bucket before you can even look at investments? You know,
just put it into it.
Okay.
Don't even think about that so much.
Got it.
Because the right thing, if you do due diligence, aim for, don't get greedy.
yes,
7, 8, 9%, 10%. Like, don't get greedy with it.
Mm-hmm. Got
don't,
it.
Don't. Oh, I'm gonna get a 20% return. Forget about it.
Right.
What you want is a consistent return, that 8%, that 9%, but over a long period of time.
Right.
Right. So you think that let's say you're gonna retire at 65.
yes,
You say, okay, I still have that much time, but knowing if you don't put money into it,
now yeah, I don't have much time for that. Yeah, I've got
Yeah.
like another 25 years, right? So-
yeah, right? And
Yeah.
knowing when you are 50, 55, I know that 55, 60, 60, we can't go. We're both old men, we can't go as fast, right? He's older, but right, we can't go. You can't. Oh, I'm gonna work 12 hours. I'm gonna work 14 hours.
No, it's exhausting,
It's
yeah.
exhausting, right? Now you now sit down like for a few. Like, okay, when I was younger, 20-some-odd years old, I can do this for 10 hours straight. Now, like 2 hours into, my back aches, my neck aches, like my hand, like.
I gotta go spend some more money on a massage.
Yeah, like now. Yeah, seriously, right?
I do, like, for real,
seriously,
yeah.
right? Now I go get a massage every single week. It's the same thing. But so that's how we manage money.